and the Ukrainian army have suffered very serious losses in the past 4 months. But the material losses caused by the war can be repaired in the future. At least this is true for Ukraine, because Ukraine is resisting against the unjust attacks by Russia and truly defends not only in their own culture, people and lands, but also the whole Europe and all democratics of the world. In this way, it will not be too difficult for us, sensitive citizens and states of the world, to compensate for the financial losses of Ukraine. For Russia, however, the situation points to the opposite. Although Russia can compensate for the financial loss it lost in the war by selling oil, there are many things that the Russian industry and the economy cannot do alone. Hundreds of sanctions were imposed to Russia in about 4 months, and most of them took place in the economic and technological field. Even if Russia can tolerate economic sanctions for a while, it will be crushed by technological sanctions. Ukraine has already shown us that the aging technology of the Russian army is a pile of rusty iron. Advanced Western light weapons crushed heavy Russian tanks. Russia will not want to renew this military arsenal in the long run, and this will be the point where Russia will be stuck. Currently, giant companies providing spare parts in the military field have left Russia. Currently, Russian planes are short of spare parts. The Russian aviation industry is on the verge of a collapse. The Russian automotive industry cannot last long, and the world's giant automotive companies have withdrawn from Russia. In addition, many world giant companies in the technological field suspended or froze their relations with Russia. The technology wars, which have come to the force again with Russia's invasion of Ukraine, have recently been harshly applied to Russia by the United States. The heaviest sanctions on Russia in the field of technology and industry came from the USA. Giant companies such as Microsoft, Apple, IBM no longer do business in Russia. Russia has developed its own military technology over the last 30 years, often by studying US equipment, and this will likely turn out to be a disaster for Russia now, because Russia is heavily dependent on the US technology. Since the first day of the invasion, the US has drastically restricted technology transfers to Russia, and Putin does not know how to deal with this coup. Recently, Microsoft announced that it will no longer bring new products and services to Russian market, and then said that it was on the downsizing path by laying off more than 400 Russian employees. In total, the number of brands that impose an embargo on Russia is over 100. But one of the most important of these is undoubtedly Microsoft. Another big company, Apple, is among the companies participating in this chain of sanctions. Apple has already announced that it has stopped all its activities, but Microsoft was saying that it was only taking a step in the process of pursuing new products and services. But as of today, Microsoft Russia has laid off 400 employees. From now on, it will only be there for the continuation of the products and services that is sold by contract in the previous period. In addition, American technology giant IBM, which operates in 171 countries, withdrew from Russia. The successive blows from IBM, Microsoft, and Apple are fueling the technology crisis in Russia, and the withdrawal of these superior world technologies from Russia completely ruined the Russian technology that is fully integrated with these technologies. Putin, who will not be able to buy spare parts and technology from the West, has to look for new alternatives. In fact, the basis of this hostility was laid during the Cold War with the Soviet Union and has continued since then. The US technology management strategy had an international aspect. Although the United States designed a system to prevent its own companies from transferring technology to the Soviet Union, in practice, many friendly states become targets to export control because of a concern about trading with the USSR or Eastern Europe. But this did not stand in the way of Soviet efforts to collect and develop Western technologies. For this reason, the concern of the USA greatly increased. The Soviets had sufficiently incorporated Western technology into their military order and technology. All of this has come to the cost of the United States and the scientific community as a whole. Soviet efforts to limit access to information necessarily diminished the scientific capacity of the United States and its allies, both by compartmentalizing knowledge and insulting Western scientific communities from foreign knowledge and expertise. However, US policymakers believe that controls designed to limit personal interaction with Soviet and Soviet sympathizer scientists would do more harm to the Russians than they did to America. This belief was a valid one, and Russia began to fall under this technological pressure. Putin's Russia is experiencing the same situation nowadays. The United Socialist Soviet Republic was not completely cut off from technological advantages, but Soviet science and engineering was undoubtedly held back by their inability to cooperate with the best scientists and engineers from the West. Different search and publication norms evolved on both sides of the Iron Curtain, and Western military and civilization technology consistently outstripped their Soviet equivalents. After 1992, everything relaxed and Russia gained access to the most advanced international technology. In retrospect, it may seem that the 30 years following the collapse of the Soviet Union represented a brief, bright, and fleeting window in US-Russian science and technology relations. But as we said earlier, Russia has made technology dependent on foreign countries, and now all world states and technology giants will use this opportunity most heavily due to Russia's war against Ukraine. The heaviest technology sanctions should be continued until Russia does not change its stance of committing this crime against humanity, or until we firmly believe that Russia will not repeat it again. It isn't the first time the US has